Hey there, welcome back to the channel. My name is Centrifuge, and today, you distinguished people out there that are watching this, consider yourselves lucky because you're about to bear witness to a new series on this channel I'm calling Worlds with a Heartbeat, where I, Centrifuge, just really want to use this as an excuse to talk about game worlds that I feel really ooze that lived-in vibe, you know? These games can create this facade through a variety of ways, not just how the AI engages with the world. It could also be how the environments and artists that worked on them shaped a space that holds nothing of value to the player really, but it may use compelling visual storytelling to tell a narrative and paint a picture of a world that feels worn and lived in. Now, I am by no means a preacher, okay, but I feel very privileged to be able to live in a world where I can play and enjoy these types of games, and there is a lot of them. And because there are so many of them, I'm aiming to cover just 3 games per episode, and that's really all the intro I can handle, so let's just get right into this thing. I'm going to do what absolutely nobody is willing to do, and I'm putting Red Dead Redemption 2 first in this series.
That's a gale, all right.
Nobody cares about your weather opinions.
I just kind of want to get it out of the way, and why is that? It's because it's probably the utmost prime example of a world that feels like an extension of our own plane of existence, and everyone and their Uncle Joe fucking knows that this is going to be on everybody's top 10, top 100 list of all time for the next several hundred years. Plus, it just kind of seems like an unfair comparison to the other games I have on this list because Red Dead Redemption 2 just fucking nails it. The fictional world that Red Dead Redemption 2 resides in teeters on our own, being Rockstar's representation of 5 US states to fit their own desires. Yet, despite it being a fictional place, it feels very much like gamers nearly took a machine back in time to the cowboy era. The world just exudes a soul. Essentially, it just becomes a character of its own. But Red Dead Redemption 2 builds this heartbeat in ways that are both outlandish and also a little bit more subtle. For instance, random encounters and persons of interest are often hyperbolic, humorous, and mysterious. And as far as I know, there is not a single use case for this girl in the Saint Denis bar that is yelling out profanities and everything else. She insists that she's just waiting for someone interesting, and let me know if there's an actual outcome to this scenario that you can do in this game, because I still have no idea, and I want to know. The more subtle ones are moments that happen around you, instead of ones that are generated in a fashion that is supposed to grab the player's attention. Someone yelling out for help on the map is intended to push the gameplay while doubling as an immersion technique. But when you're just walking around through a town watching everyone go about their day, well, that's world building at its finest. It's a highly realistic simulation and emulation of life that the player can engage with if they so choose to, but oftentimes there is nothing of value there to really fuel any side adventures. It's just there to build the world and make it feel so alive, and it just really works. I can't tell you how many hours I have spent in this game just doing the most random crap, from just hanging out in the saloon, playing poker, getting crunk, eating a delicious looking meal before hitting the hay. It's one of the only games where I actually enjoy doing the most mundane shit like chores. Doing chores in camp? Sure. Why not? I won't go downstairs and do the dishes, but I'll happily do chores in this simulation of life. Going hunting to provide food for the gang? Heck yeah, sign me up. But I won't go to the grocery store because that's just too much work. Honestly, doing these things makes very little difference from a narrative perspective, but we do them because the world is so incredibly tangible and just unlike any other game out there. All of this is before mentioning that animals mimic their real-life counterparts. Cloud cover casts realistic shadows across the rolling hills. There's a small chance that Arthur can get struck by lightning, for crying out loud. You need to use the right bait and lures when fishing. There are benefits to keeping your guns clean. Taking care of your horse yields upgrades worth doing. Honestly, there are just too many details to add to this list. I feel like I would be here all day, and there are already so many top 10 videos out there that label all of the unique things in this game, and you guys probably already know them anyway. But this certainly deserves the first spot in this series. So there you go, Red Dead. Thank you for all the great memories. I love you. The next game on this list is one that I don't really think a lot of gamers gave the time of day to, simply because of its really steep learning curve that honestly I think may be even more harsh than the Dark Souls games, for instance. Yet it is still getting a sequel next year, meaning that there was a success and a fan base that really loves this game, which is great. Kingdom Come: Deliverance is a very unique open world game that we seldom see, both in its gameplay and setting in which it impressively brought the Middle Ages to life with painstaking detail. This is one of those games where you can truly say that the effort behind it represents a game that is truly authentic to the time period. It follows the journey of a young man trying to find his place in the world, which really resonated with me because I still have no fucking idea who I want to be or where I'm going. I also didn't finish this game. I feel bad saying that because this game is incredibly awesome and the developers put so much work into it. I just fell off and never got back into it, and because there's such a steep learning curve, I feel like I'd have to restart the game all over again, and right now I just don't want to do that. Still, regardless of my lack of completion, I know epic fail on my part, there is no doubt in my mind that it still deserves to be here in this moment. Despite the development team being made up of 11 people, that's right, 11 people with how big this game is. That's wild to me. That's amazing. This game world feels alive in a manner that puts forth a more grounded approach, if that makes any sense. What I mean by this is that you often won't find NPCs or points of interest out in the open world like you would in a game like Assassin's Creed Valhalla or Skyrim. This game really forces a realism approach over the typical gameplay loop and points of interest you would typically find in games like Skyrim that try to keep the player engaged with new content every couple of minutes, or I think it's like a 30-second rule no matter where you walk. That's obviously just to keep the player fully engaged and there's no downtime to be bored. But this game does not do that at all. It doesn't care about that rule. If you go into a forest, you know what you're going to find there? You're going to find absolutely nothing. You're going to find some trees, some animals munching on some grass, and maybe a bandit camp or two. These empty spaces have an almost uncanny realism to them because it puts forth a natural beauty in a believable way, and also walking into a forest and just having it be a sprawling empty space is kind of foreboding. The devs used realistic geography too, with towns residing near a source of flowing water at all times, and keeps are elevated to prevent an easy siege. While the outdoors are lonesome, towns are bustling locations where you can pick up quests, talk to merchants, and just kind of watch people go about their day. I was genuinely shocked when I first played this game at how advanced the AI programming is. Now, are they smart? No. No, not really. But they do create a pretty compelling illusion of a society that would be worse off without them. Everywhere I looked, there were farmers working away, people preparing meals and keeps, women collecting water from streams to clean their clothes, and when it rains, some NPCs will even seek shelter under rooflets to try to keep dry.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it.
There are quests that come about naturally by simply returning to locations and having the residents remember you and your actions, which is always amazing when games do that. Hunting for various wildlife is also a great way to make some coin early on in the game if you're wanting to pick this up. Just a friendly little tip to throw out there to you, you know, because this game is really good. I'm just honestly genuinely surprised at how natural the world feels. Despite the game's big problem with indie jank, sucks to say that, but it's true, I like the contrast between the more subdued, lonely wilds and populated cities. But anyway, alas, we have to move on to the last game on this list. I feel like some people will agree with me and others will disagree. It kind of seems to be a divisive game, so it'll be interesting. Watch Dogs 2 grabs the setting of San Francisco by the balls by wrapping its world in a goofy and satirical take on tech conglomerates, the emphasis on codependency with technology that we see today, and the wilder side of humanity. Where Watch Dogs 2 falls apart for me is kind of with its narrative. The story is cringe and oftentimes just completely uninteresting to me. But what isn't uninteresting to me at all is the open world, because it tells a story of its own. That's because almost everywhere you go in this map, you are going to find a story and world event that will evoke an emotion, whether it's the hilarity of a girl screaming at dog poop she just found on her lawn.
I just want people to clean up their stupid dog shit!
Or the shock of someone knocking out a busker just because. It helps that the world is so vibrant and colorful, making it that much easier to explore, and the NPCs feel just as vibrant as the world. Now, when I went to get footage for this video, I figured I'd only record probably like 20 minutes or so. But An hour later, I realized that I was so entranced with this game and there were so many things to see and do. I was staggered. This facade of a living world really just had me tricked, you know? I was consistently impressed by how many unique animations and dialogue options I found amongst the non-player characters. A girl yelling at her gardeners, a guy talking to his friend about how he found his girlfriend cheating with a woman and then later began a mutual open relationship with them.
You for a second think you might be pissed because she's cheating? Sure. But fuck no, man. It was like Christmas came early.
A couple holding hands and enjoying the sunset. A guy commenting on another person's dog about how cute it is. I'm still impressed watching this footage back, and keep in mind that I'm just scratching the surface with these examples. Sure, there is some jank and it can ruin the immersion the game is going for sometimes, and sometimes it's downright fucking hilarious. For instance, this ambulance driver pulls over to help this girl that just got knocked out by telling her,
"You're okay. I'm a professional,"
before just popping out of existence. Like, okay. The types of people also vary depending on the area of the map that you're in. Silicon Valley will have all the suits and tech geeks with people playing VR outside. Beaches has joggers and physically fit goers. The pier has lots of performers. It's not just about what these people, quote unquote, are doing either, but also how they react to you and what you're doing. Shoving a camera in their faces provides a plethora of responses, including insults or people posing for the pic. Those are good-spirited people. Whipping out a gun and aiming it at someone will show also a variety of responses. Some will unabashedly run and cower because they don't want to die, and I can't say I really blame them. And others will try to talk you down with their hands in the air. Something that even GTA 5 doesn't do. This game has a lot of details GTA 5 doesn't do, to be honest. I'm gonna catch some flack for that, but I don't care. A downside is the map is quite dense, and in heavily populated areas, these random events trigger a lot more frequently, so there is 100% overlap. In that hour of recording, I did have 2 repeats. I also don't know how many people just walk around the game worlds like I do though, so it may not even be that big of a problem, but I mean, there's definitely going to be repeats with a system like this. Oh, and you can also go into shops and buy various things. Take some notes, GTA. Why can't we do that in GTA? Come on. There are even animations for drinking. Overall, I just think it's a really unique open world, which I think all of the Watch Dogs games do staggeringly well, even though they all do it a tad bit differently. So there you have it. The first part of this series is under my belt with assuredly more to come. All of these games to me feel alive in one way or another, and honestly I can't wait to make more because I just love talking about video games. Red Dead Redemption 2 is obviously an unfair comparison to the other two. There's absolutely no competition with Red Dead 2. That's the thing. There's actively no competition on the market with that game right now. But anyway, let me know what you guys think of the games that I talked about in this video. And watch out for part 2 in the near future. I have lots of video ideas coming, lots of stuff to work on. And if you like this video, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, because there's always going to be more content posted on this channel. Good night and good lunch.